Everybody, and welcome to another episode with oh fuck, I fucked that up. Welcome to the dark side of our haunted minds. I'm Adam Darkside, and
I am Dominic.
And I am Daniel. And
And-
as you guys can see, our other teammate, Jason, is not here tonight. He got called into work, unfortunately. Wow, surprise. Us normal people having to work.
Oh shit!
But
Some people
sucks,
don't know what
don't
it's
it?
like either.
yeah, but that's his own deal. So we'll probably see him next week. We wish him well.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. Hi,
hi,
and
Jason.
What is up, man?
If you're watching.
Yeah.
if you're watching, which you're probably not because you're at work, but if you watch it later, hi. We'll tonight we're going to be talking about the JFK conspiracy. And also we are going to talk about the Rendlesham forest incident. And that one is like Britain's Roswell. In case if anybody, I know a lot of people aren't really like know about this case, so I thought it was a good one to talk
Yeah,
about.
whenever you told me that you were doing that case, I never even heard of it. So I'm really interested to see what you have came up with.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really know anything about it either. Like, I don't follow politics or nothing like that. So, like, I of course know about JFK and know that he got
I don't follow
assassinated,
politics either, but I like the history behind it.
And it's like a cold case if you think about it, because like there's
Yeah.
more backstory to it that you just don't know about.
Yeah, like it's
Mhm.
almost a borderline a cold case.
Oh yeah.
Well,
They know of one person, but who knows on how many it could have been.
yeah.
On,
Like the weird thing about the British Roswell incident, basically, what's cool about it is he was the UK's Ministry of Defense. So like you're talking like a high up guy
okay.
talking about, his name's Nick Pope, and you've probably seen him on if you've ever watched Ancient Aliens and you saw what this guy looked like, you'd be like, oh, I know that guy. But yeah, he actually was UK's ministry, like ahead of the Ministry of Defense, which is a high position. And to be on a show like Ancient Aliens and being in that position and still believe what he's saying, I would have to say, just that alone makes me go,
Yeah.
like if that guy thinks UFOs and aliens are real, and he was literally the Minister of Defense, I would kind of like take his word over any other guy's word. Quite honestly, that's a high level.
Yeah, that's a pretty high tier in their government to be talking about UFOs and aliens, and
he still can't talk about some things.
well, I'm sure. I'm sure that he has like an NDA or something like against him that he can't talk about certain stuff.
Yeah, you know what else is weird too is like this goes with hand in hand with like, you know, the Skinwalker Ranch. You know that what's the doctor's name that does like all the? I just spaced it. Oh my gosh!
I can't
Is it
think
in
of
Texas?
I think
No, that it's in Utah.
Utah.
Okay.
The Skinwalker Ranch is in Utah.
I know
but
about the Skinwalker Ranch.
can't-
I never actually knew like too much on the story.
Look on the chat. Maybe somebody.
I forget who the doctor's name was. Can the chat tell us?
I know what you're talking. No, not yet. I know. I could probably look it up, but either way, it's not that big of a deal. But he works for the government too. He worked with NASA. He's worked with the government to,
Really?
like, he's a rocket science engineer. Like, he's like one of the smartest minds of our time, and he's he's pretty smart guy. But he can't talk about certain things either. Stuff that he knows is real. He can't just go out and say it because literally he knows he'd get in trouble. He has NDAs that he signed, all that stuff for working for high class projects for NASA and the government. But he also does Skinwalker Ranch. and he does all these experiments and stuff, and they keep having weird things happen. Like one time they heard the government listening back, like they were at a certain frequency, and they could hear somebody, like they could almost hear themselves repeating themselves, but like just like they've had black helicopters show up with no lights on or anything flying over the ranch while they're doing stuff. Like so much stuff. Like they're spying on them basically. Well, the government spies on everybody, but
Yeah.
they're kind of watching closely of what they're doing out there, because they're doing a lot of crazy shit. So, but I know that's kind of off on a tangent, but that's like kind of reminds me of that, having that different clearances and still talking about these subjects.
Yeah, that's an odd thing to think about too. Like, why else would they be spying on that ranch?
Yeah, because they know that they're uncovering things. They're worried that they're going to uncover stuff that they don't want people to know about. Just like there's no fly zones in the freaking Grand Canyon. There's places where that people have sent drones over to that area, and they have the jammers, and it'll send the GPS signal, automatically make your drone go to home, and you have no control over it. I've watched it. I've literally seen the videos of people doing it. You watch them on YouTube. This one guy sent, like, just to try to debunk it and say that, oh, no way. But there's there's like a hidden base out in literally the Grand Canyon that nobody knows about, and they're not allowed to go. No one has the clearance to even go. Now, how weird is that? How can the government tell you that you can't go down into the Grand Canyon, literally a national treasure, one of the greatest wonders of the world, but there's a certain spot you're not allowed to go because the government says so.
Yeah,
I find that
odd.
I just find that so weird. Like, what are they so afraid of us knowing about?
I don't even know what to think. Like, why else would they be jamming it unless they're hiding something?
Exactly. You're exactly right. And that's what I don't understand. What is it that they don't want us to know about?
See, this is the kind of stuff that I'm really, really intrigued by. And, like, that's honestly why I like talking to you also. Because you bring up topics that are just basically in the unknown. It makes you start to think.
Yeah, I mean that my brain is like that. Like, I'm all over the place. But yeah, like
I'm trying to
why?
think of a logical reason on why they would do that.
I have one.
I have one. But...
I have one story that's related to that I have a good feeling of why that spot in the Grand Canyon is off limits. There was it's a whole different story, and maybe we'll get into that next week. But it's about an explorer. I can't remember his name, and that's why I'm not even going to try. But he worked for the Smithsonian, and he went and supposedly he found a spot in the Grand Canyon. There was a cave, and in that cave there was stuff in it that didn't make sense historically. Like there was like a Buddha statue. There was all different forms of religion, including Egyptian hieroglyphs that he found in this one cave. And when he went and reported back on it and told the Smithsonian about it, this is all there's a newspaper article and everything. He completely disappeared.
I would be interested in doing that next episode.
Yeah, he disappeared. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. Wonder what happened to him.
I wonder if he's like somehow buried. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say buried, but you just never know.
I'm sure he's not. Well, he's so old now that he's unalive. But this was way back in like the early don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it was early 1900s is whenever he did this expedition, and people have tried to take his same route to see if they can find the cave, because he wrote down like kind of about he would know what it looked like when he saw it, because it was kind of hidden a little bit, and he just so happened to see it because he saw like a glimmer of light or something coming from it, and he just went and checked it out and found it. and there was so much stuff that he couldn't just carry it back. So he wanted to report back and get more people to come and basically have an expedition to go and check it out, because it was like the discovery of a lifetime, right? And then he disappeared. The Smithsonian still to this day says that they have no idea who that person is, that they don't know who he is, but there's newspaper articles proving that he worked for the Smithsonian and everything.
That's wow. That's
so basically it would have upturned all of religion. It would have changed how we thought about history in general. And that's why, I mean, that anytime they're hiding stuff from us is because it takes away a level of control. You see, they're controlling what we say or see. I should say see. They don't control what we say, but they still kind of do. There's certain things we're not allowed to say. Unless we're on X, then we can just say whatever the hell we want. But
hello.
But yeah, right. That's the crazy part. Hi. Hell.
Yeah, there's people in the live on YouTube that I kind of send over. Hello.
Sweet. Hi. How are you guys doing tonight?
I want to take us back to November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. There's a crowd because they're waiting on the arrival of, known former president John F. Kennedy. And he's riding in the back of a Ford Lincoln with the First Lady, his wife. And they're driving down the road just casually, waving to all the bystanders, waiting to see them. And there's this part of the film which I don't understand that was broadcasted. It's seen that one of the Secret Service agents was told to go to the car behind him. And you can see that he was kind of confused why he was told to get back. And moments after, John would unfortunately meet his end. And you can still find the video that I'm talking about. Both videos, actually. There's 2 sets of recordings. And yeah, it's pretty gruesome. And they ended up capturing one of said, unalivers named Lee Harvey Oswald. And there is reports on the Dune documents that came out on this case from the executive orders that have been passed by Trump and Biden that shows more evidence that the CIA was in on it. And I've also seen Reddit posts talking about this. There was a theory that Lee was actually a part of the CIA. But how true that is, we will never know. He didn't leave to see the light of day. So it really makes you wonder.
We watched the video before we went live, and it's worse than what I thought.
Yeah. And Adam, gruesome. I want you to show the audience that ABC News clip. Yes, that one. And just before you hit play here, this is a exclusive NBC News report on this guy named Paul. And Paul is a former Secret Service agent that was actually there the day that it happened. So you can go ahead and play the video. Did we lose Adam?
It should start. Give it a second.
I saw
No,
was
I'm
a
here.
bullet that was there, and I wanted to preserve it and make sure that it didn't get
Can you hear it?
lost.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And we've heard from Clint Hill, the other Secret Service agent there. He questions your account, saying it doesn't make any sense to him. What do you make of that?
I really don't know. That's Clint's theory. That's his thought. We never talked to each other after the assassination about the events. We worked together for the next 7 months. I really can't answer what his thinking is or why.
So many people that are watching this are going to wonder, why come forward now? Why not say something earlier?
Well, nobody asked me, and I never thought about it. I didn't read anything about the assassination. I had nightmares. I buried everything. I refused to read anything about it because I figured I'd been there, I'd witnessed it. I didn't need to read anything. All the
PTSD.
assassination theories and things that were out there, I never took a look at. There was only one book, and it was just coincidentally happened in 2014. And I am doing volunteer work for the Shaker Heights Police Department, and the chief of police there came to the auction. We were doing a property auction. Police chief came, said, "Paul, I have a book that I think you'd be interested in." And he gave me this book, and it was called 6 Seconds in Dallas. I took it home thinking I'd read it immediately, but I just put it on a nightstand, and it was 3 months before I decided it was time to start reading about what was going on. I don't know.
And Paul, when you started to realize that they were calling the bullet that you found,
I just wanted to reiterate what he's talking about. So during the autopsies of everyone involved, he was on the scene on that stretch of road, and he finds this bullet, a brass bullet that was pristine. For the longest time, no one knew where it came from. Everyone thought it came out of McConnell, which is the guy that was sitting in front of Kennedy during this event. And for the longest time, no one knew where it came from. They couldn't figure it out. And then this guy comes along and actually tells them where it came from. He kept it in his pocket, and whenever he went to the autopsy, he didn't even think anything about it and sets the bullet by their feet. And that's where they found it. And he was asked at the end of that interview, like, what his thoughts were, and he says that there's only one. There was only one. But what I believe is that there were multiple involved, because where that storm drain is and where the grassy knoll is, there could have been more, up to, I would even say 3 people. Because if it was only one person, Lee wouldn't have been able to get 3 consecutive shots with a bolt action, pew pew. And
yeah, like that's another thing that always blew my mind.
Like, I just don't see it. It had to been at least 2 or more people. And people were saying that they saw someone in the grassy knoll part. But in the footages that I've watched, I didn't really see what people were talking about.
Like, I downloaded the whole.
That's why I like talking about these conspiracy on what actually happened. And then the new documents came out saying that pretty much that the CIA was involved.
Yeah. They even said that Lee Harvey Oswald, I've downloaded like all the new release documents. I haven't gone through them all. There's a lot. But some of the ones I did read was eyewitness statements saying that when they were stationed, I think in Japan, the CIA operatives literally recognized Lee Harvey Oswald for being on that base at that time. So like he does have involvement with showing that he was around the CIA for one, which already is weird. And then he was also trying to, what the Warren Commission is, just the Warren Report and the Warren Commission is probably the biggest national joke of ever, probably ever. How do you put, whenever the CIA is involved with it, the head of the CIA was the one doing the report. So basically he got to write whatever narrative he wanted. But he did silence a lot of stuff and made it classified so the American people couldn't see it. Why would you make something classified for that long?
Yeah, and at the time of this video, also, there's still hundreds of thousands of more documents that are still either heavily redacted or just modified to make them look good.
Yeah.
And even the original footage that is seen many, many of times, in the background, you can see this tree, and it looks like it's floating. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure trees don't float.
No, they don't.
Without the film being edited in some way.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to think. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is definitely a cold case based on everything that's happened.
Yeah,
and the fact that stuff's still happening. I mean, he died in 1963.
Yes,
I'm not gonna count the mouth at right now, but the fact that he died
60
that long,
years to the
and
day,
it's still going on.
It's 60 years
and like
this year.
I don't follow politics at all. I know Daniel doesn't, but the fact that
I just follow the history.
This is like a cold case. The fact that specifically John Kennedy and what happened to him. Like nobody knows.
Well, not just him, his brother.
His brother, his whole family was cursed almost.
Yeah, for speaking out. They were trying to, basically they were going against it. They're basically like Trump.
Yeah.
It could have been multiple people.
Kennedy was like Trump. Yeah.
In a way, he's trying to calm down and have no wars. But the military industrial complex, they want war because war is money. Yep. The more money they can get, and then this money's being funneled into, if I talk about too much, I don't want to target on my fucking back. So yeah, probably. But we all know that it's pretty obvious at this point. I think most of the country is not most. I can't say that. Sorry, strike that. Reverse it. Not most of the country. But there is a fraction of the country that are awake.
Majority, perhaps.
I'm not saying woke. I'm saying awake. There's a big difference. Like you're awake. You see it very clearly that like it's all shit. Like the whole thing is just a big facade for what's actually being done behind the scenes. It's pretty obvious at this point. You can spot it everywhere. And that's what it ruffles feathers, because people live in this dream world where they think that people are doing things for their best interest, and the government is doing what's best for it, not what's best for the people.
And what I find weird too is that after that event happened, 6 months go past and they refurbished that same car for like what, 4 other presidents? 3 or 4 other presidents? You know how weird that is?
Mm-hmm.
They put $250,000 on that car and refurbished it to like it was brand new, like nothing ever happened.
And you know what's weird about that? that kind of sounds like someone covering up evidence.
Exactly.
Because
No
no one
like,
can go back.
If
Because
you
back
look
in the
at
60s,
pictures
there was
too,
no
yeah.
DNA. There was none of that crap, right? So like
No.
when you break it down, if they knew that they don't want down the line, they're covering their tracks. Because just think about what we could do with it now with the 3D modeling, the everything. If we had the original car with the original bullet holes, we'd be able to know exactly which way they came from, how fast they
Yep.
were going, and what angle, all that.
And even in pictures of the car, like after it happened too, you can see a straight bullet hole through the windshield.
Mhm.
But I don't know about you, and like I know that he missed at least once. We know that for a fact. He missed at least once. But how can he recock his weapon and be able to fire a second and third time that quick?
And he got him 100% pretty
Yeah.
accurately.
Yeah, like
That
that's a good shot, I would say,
It's-
especially on a moving target. Like,
with the gun that he had that they recovered, I know the G word probably be
Yeah.
flagged, but whatever. The one that was recovered was like not even that high of, like, it wasn't that good. Like, I don't think that you could do it. Like, I just don't see the possibility. And they've tried to reenact it and they can't, but they just say, oh, well, he did it though. So like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. If you can't physically redo it, like you ever see
can see-
Mythbusters?
Yeah,
That's a pretty good explanation. If they can't
yeah,
do it,
yeah.
then it's not
They can
possible.
pretty much do anything. Like they've debunked way more shit.
I could
than just that.
almost guarantee that there's so many evidence that's out
Oh,
there
yeah.
about him that hasn't been released yet, that people know about, that isn't out there.
Oh, for sure. Because
It's
like everyone is hush hush about it, like at first.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And then more information started coming out. People started speaking up as years go by. And now we get all these new documents, and it really opens up a whole new can of worms that nobody really knows what to think.
Right. And the problem
Everyone
with
thought that the CIA was in on it, but that was just a theory. And then
But here-
now there's basically proof. Basically
And that's-
proof.
yeah, that's
What?
that's another thing that drives me nuts is if you walk up to anybody on the street, right? You walk to anybody that I've ever met, and if you brought this up and asked if it was just Lee Harvey Oswald or it was a CIA, cover up for taking out the president, like literally, I think everyone would say the government. And the
Yes.
weird part about that is why is it that all the public knows, but there's no accountability? Like, we already know. Like, what's so bad about coming out and saying, "Hey, yeah, we did this"? Well,
And
but that
I also
admits
don't get
guilt
why you're hiding it for so long. Like,
because
I
they don't
get
want
it.
the government to know they're that corrupt. They don't.
Well,
The
like,
government doesn't
I
want you to believe
understand.
that.
Yeah, and like I understand that like it could pose like a national risk against like privacy and stuff like that, like people are saying, but it's been almost 60 years. This year will be the 60th anniversary of this day. And we still know very little about it as the
Mhm.
facts come out.
But-
all
and that's
that
the
we can
thing.
do is speculate.
Even if it does come out, you don't hear any of the major. I mean, I know we just
No.
watched like ABC about it, but that was like about a completely different story. They weren't talking about like, okay, well, what about the
No.
documents that were released? What about the stuff that was
No.
on those
I
documents?
just
You don't
thought
hear
it was
any of them breaking it
interesting
down.
that he was the one that had a bullet inside of his pocket. Because now it's been confirmed that, like, okay, it didn't come out of this guy. It looks pristine. Where did this come from? Like, he just randomly
where-
saw it on the back of the seat and then picked it up and put it in his pocket. He was going to give it to the secretary at the White House whenever he got back there, but he just decided to leave it with the family. So this
It's
whole
weird.
case really does make you scratch your head, though.
Well, it makes you scratch your head, but at the same time, you're like, this is like proof that the
Yeah.
government really did take out its own president. Like, just that thought alone should everybody make you go, that's messed up. Right?
Yeah.
I think everybody can admit that. Like, yeah, hey, like if they admitted that, it would change I mean, everybody doesn't look at the government good pretty much as it is.
No.
So if you were to come out and at a time right now where like you have two shitty candidates to choose from, like in a time like now, the last thing you want to do is drop government. Like, what if nobody shows up to the polls?
Yeah.
Well, what if that happened? What if everybody just sat at home and said, you know, we're done with this. We're doing it our way. And like just did what we're supposed to do. Like
Yeah, just
actually
didn't
uphold the
vote.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Like, what if we all didn't vote for anyone to win?
Yeah,
Then
because
what?
but you're forced into choosing this side or that side. And it's like, I already see a problem in that right there.
The government
that-
takes over in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How
just
do we
gonna take over.
know? How can we trust the government when it comes to counting votes? Like how they can't even, it's also corrupt that how can you really believe that?
Yeah, like I personally believe, let's just get rid of politics.
Exactly.
Maybe it would make life a lot easier.
Exactly. Then we wouldn't be talking about all the uncertainty. So, like, a part of me is also thankful for it, but a part of me also wants it to go away, just because of how corrupt.
I mean, they say, you know, law and order and all that. Like, I get that. Like, there has to be some sort of order, or everything's chaos, and
For sure.
it'll be like, you know, Borderlands or something. Like, you know, you're talking like it'll just get bad. There has to be some sort of order, but the people that are doing those orders shouldn't be making a life out of it. It should be an honor and a privilege to serve as a politician. That's what it's supposed to be about anyhow. That's the reason you're doing it. But when you got people like Nancy Pelosi and all these people that have been in the Senate for like ever, and they aren't even in touch with freaking reality, they have no idea what it's like for someone like you or me to have to go to work. I mean, literally, they are so filthy fucking rich that it's disgusting. And they got that off of what? Off taxpayers, off of us. We're the ones who have allowed this to happen for so long, but we're also the ones who have to fix it. You see, that's the thing. And people aren't willing to go do the job. I'm not saying go end somebody. I'm just saying that there should be term limits, and the people that are voting on the term limits shouldn't be the people that's voting about. I mean, I guess I can make that easier. Senators shouldn't vote for senators' term limits. It shouldn't be up to them to decide whether or not, because they're all going to say, no, I want to make this money. Who says that they don't want to? Who would vote against that if it was up to you? I'm going to vote for your job, whether it's going to be over in 5 years or 10 years. And you have a pretty comfy spot. You think I'm going to vote to be against it? No.
And not only that, but like even after your service is done, you still get the protection. You still get benefits from being voted in. So it's like,
also, how does the people that don't have to pay for healthcare deciding whether or not we all have to have healthcare?
Exactly.
Like, how would they have us in their best interests? It'll be lobbyists that controls that. And that's why the pharmaceutical companies can do what they do. And that's a whole nother topic on itself. But it's disgusting and corrupt.
Monopoly for the US. Because
it's corruption.
Yes, very much so. But I see it as one giant monopoly. Like the whole US is one giant monopoly. If you think about it.
Oh, for sure. They don't have our interest in their best interest. If they did, then there wouldn't be 10 million people flooding in our borders while there's homeless US citizens on the corners that don't get any help but these people are getting our tax-paying money to feed, clothe, just for walking across the imaginary line. But the people that are already in here, screw them. Screw them. Who cares about them, right?
Yeah. I don't care
Let's care about a whole bunch of people that don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Or you're letting a whole new section of voters into the country.
Yeah.
Like a whole state's worth. Like it's literally like the amount of people that came across the border is how many people live in Indiana.
Yep.
If you want to put it into perspective.
And
that's insane.
Just to point out that as of I want to say we have 6 million people living in Indiana total.
Crazy.
I think it's more than that.
More than that?
Might be 8 million, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's more around like 14. Let's see.
Ooh, 14.
Because I know we're not like, yeah, we're a big state, but like we don't have that many residents compared to like Illinois, Ohio, Michigan.
If you think about it, like, yeah, we're a big state. We live in Indiana and we know the whereabouts around Indiana.
All right, hey,
Indiana's
you're good. Daniel, you're good. It's 6.8 mil.
6.8 mil.
Look at that. Look at that.
So check that out and put that in perspective now. So twice the state of Indiana has came across the border.
But even still, that's insane amounts of people. And I thought that in Indiana we had a lot of people.
Unfortunately, we're going to probably be getting more too.
All of our surrounding states, like that are neighboring us, they have way more residents than we do. Like
Indiana's
up to twice as more.
Indiana is not really a big state if you think about it.
We're the 17th largest populous state. We're right there above the half, but not, we're at 17th most populous state.
We're at like the mid tier as far as the states.
I need to look at the population of the states. I need to do that because I've always been curious.
I just pulled it up on Chat GPT. I just pulled it up real fast.
What's the last state that's on there?
I have no idea. I didn't ask that. I just asked about
you have to ask it direct questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Well, that's just so crazy, though, man. Like, that's a whole nother topic in itself, too. We just keep bringing up all these different topics we could cover because that's just nuts.
It still correlates to what we're talking about, too, on like cover-ups. Like, nobody wants to speak up for themselves and actually do something that's worthwhile. People just want to complain and not do anything about it. And then they wonder why all this stuff is happening. Well, do something about it.
I agree.
You have the power to do something. Don't just sit there and complain, whine, and cry about whatever is going on and not do anything about it. Like, you know what I mean?
No, for sure, yeah.
Like, we have a say-so also.
Or you cry about because, hey, you say something or you want to speak out and then, that offends them. Well, then they cry about that.
Well,
so you're damned if you use, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So,
but I say it, so be it.
Yeah.
So be it. Like,
the way I see it, speak your damn mind. That's what our First Amendment right is about. If someone has a problem with it, they don't have to listen.
Yeah, like don't cover something up.
And they're right.
There's a lot of things that shit needs to be known.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and that's a big one.
Why would you hide something of crying out loud? A president of our own country. Why would you hide that from the public?
He didn't just hide it. He literally looked at the American people and said, "Our border's secure."
Yeah.
While millions are running across it. Like, are you kidding me?
It
really that's a blatant lie.
Crazy.
I'm not Republican or Democrat. I just say it as I see it. Like, Trump's crazy too.
But we are not actually free in this country.
Hell no.
Not as much as what people think.
We say that we are the land of the free, home of the brave, blah, blah, blah. But I really don't believe that the United States is all that free,
This country is corrupted.
especially in modern day.
Yeah.
Like maybe back
Yeah.
whenever the Constitution was written, it was free. But then
ever since that government formed and parties started to form, they went against everything they said from the very beginning. At the beginning, they
Yep.
literally said that divided. What is it? Divided we fall. What is it?
It's divided we fall something.
Conquer.
Whatever. Yeah.
Some.
I forget. Someone can probably recite
I just
it.
completely just spaced it. Like,
I can't think
oh
of
my
it.
God.
But I'm
On
sure
the spot.
someone knows what we're talking about. But like, yeah, it I don't understand why it has to be divided. Why there has to be certain parties in place.
Yep.
Why
Soon-
there's different departments in the government that are one side or the other. It's like
soon as you
one side
start,
is elected, then the other side doesn't work.
yeah, as soon as you start dividing anything, you're making opposition to one another. Like it's great to have competition, but when you say you either have to vote this way or you have to vote that way, that how free is that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. At least
That
in my
already doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That's the world we live in. Like I literally told Tori the other day. She told me. She said you should like get a shirt that says "Make it make sense, bro," because like I say that all the time. Like I'll see something and I'm just like, dude, make it make sense. Like you don't make any sense.
And I've
And
heard you say that at a couple of locations at both Randolph and Monroe House. Like you were trying to debug something and you just couldn't wrap your hand around it. So you said, make it make sense.
Yeah. Like I try, my brain always tries to make sense of it. So like I'm one of those overthinkers. So like when you say something to me, I'll still might be thinking about an hour later. I might be wrapping around my head like, oh, I could have said that. I should have said that. Or like I should have said this. I should have said that.
Dude,
and it's like
for sure.
Yeah. And but I do that with like every
that way.
Yeah, like in every situation I try to think about that too. Like every freaking scenario, I try to run through my head before it happens, so that for one, I'm not blindsided by anything. For two, like in this world that we live in, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You can't just walk. I don't get how people can just walk around total oblivion and just not care about anything. Like I just don't get it. Like, how can you not care? Show me how to do that. I wish that I could do that. I wish I could just shut it off. Don't care. But I get so fired up about this stupid. It's so stupid.
I mean, it was already evident. Like I was like so excited to start talking that like I didn't even mean to cut you off at some points.
No.
I'm just like it's really a truly intriguing topic. Like I don't know how else to put it.
It's just so messed up is what it is.
Yes.
It's like that topic, like with JFK, is there's so much evidence of like, what the fuck is that noise? Okay. I hear sirens. I hear sirens.
I think they might be here maybe because I was hearing them too.
Were you?
Yeah. I heard sirens too.
I don't hear any sirens.
No, they're definitely outside going down my road.
You
might hear them.
Yeah, I did hear them. Yeah.
I honestly didn't hear him, to be honest.
But it completely threw me off of what I was thinking, though. I'll tell you that. The ADD is real.
Hey,
as soon as I heard it, I don't even know what I was talking about.
I honestly forget, to be honest.
Like,
I know you started
about
going off about JFK again, and then
just the simple fact that everybody knows that the government did it, but no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah,
that boggles me. It just boggles my brain because it doesn't make sense. If we all know that they did something about it, then, and quite honestly, we're watching the news. If anybody's watched the news, I know you guys say you don't, but like after the attempted pew pew of what's his name, like they were going over stuff, and like there was a lot of stuff that was like, dude, this is already speaking conspiracy, like all day. They left these holes open like so wide, and so many things just didn't make sense, that it's like, this is this is US Secret Service, the most decorated people all like on the planet, like some of the best of the best of the best, sir. You know, like
And
leaving that big of a hole.
Yeah, that's not even like to mention like their involvement with the Cuban like cartels. Like nobody had really knew about what the government was keeping, and they just let them be. And that's why some people think that whoever got Oswald was a part of that mob, because
do you remember
JFK was tied to it.
Well, do you remember in the 80s, though? This is another example of corruption in the CIA. In the 80s, the whole Reagan thing with the CIA down in the C word, the white stuff that people were getting into. It's DRUG, you know what I'm saying? Like they were bankrolling on it. They actually, it's proof. They have proof that the if you crack a glass that they used to, you know, smoke, you know what I'm saying, on the street, was introduced to the African American community on purpose to start an epidemic, on purpose. And there's proof of that.
Yeah, I'm
black flag missions, like, yeah, like messed up, dude.
The fact that like nowadays we don't know what our government is getting itself hands in, like even just recently, I want to say yesterday, whenever Iran shot like all those missiles,
182 missiles.
Yes. And and they're predicted to even go up. I've seen numbers up to like 200. I've seen some like sources say, but how true that is, I don't know. It was just kind of a guess that they made. But like, even that, that's a lot. That was like twice the amount that they did.
Well, the great thing is Israel might be a small state, but they're one of the most powerful militaries in the whole entire world.
And their government was seen chanting at the U.S. saying, "Destroy us."
Like literally, dude, they have the Iron Dome.
They have
the Iron Dome. You know what that is?
I do not actually.
Most of those missiles that Iran fired were intercepted. That's what they call the Iron Dome, the Iron Curtain or whatever. And it's an anti-missile thing that's like state of the art, like straight up crazy state of the art that Israeli has that protects Israel. Like it's crazy. So when missiles come, they can fire all those. Only a few got through. If that. Wow. They said only a few got through. So out of 180 missiles, probably a handful got through out of all those. So that's why you're not seeing mass. That's why you're not seeing these. If they fired 180 missiles and into Israel, it would level so much of it. But think about how many didn't get touched.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
A very good point.
That is crazy. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
If they wouldn't have had that Iron Dome, what do you think would have happened with 180 missiles being fired into them?
But that's like my point, though. Like we don't need to be in stuff that we shouldn't even have gotten involved in the first place.
The problem is
we just like money. This is a money hungry, like, I don't know.
But the one problem is that we have is that Israel is an ally of the United States of America. Even though the Democrats try to act like they're not, They are, but the problem is we are trying to stay out of it. We are trying, but here's the problem. When Iran fires 180 missiles at somebody else's country, that's a declaration of war.
Yeah.
That's everything just changed last night. It's now a war.
Yeah. And guess
openly
what?
and blatantly.
Our government isn't the one telling us. Our own government isn't even the one telling us on what's happening. They're keeping it all under wraps. But somehow these news stories are coming out and just saying the facts that they are getting presented.
Yeah.
But
it's called,
think about it, there's
YouTube.
So much, yeah. Yeah, you can find
that's where I get all my information from. I don't go to the national media sources and watch that.
No.
I watch actual real interviews with people that are literally there saying what's going on. And then you hear crickets. You don't hear nothing coming from the major outlets about, like, they'll mention it, but it's not the top of the radar. They go straight back to trying to go after, what was it, Trump? Probably. They'll go straight back to some political whatever, because that doesn't fit their motive right now. That's not what they want to talk about. They need to talk about
that the government is hiding something bigger.
Oh,
because like, even with the Sean case, P. Diddy, why did it take them so long to prosecute a man that has had multiple
thousands, supposedly?
Thousands of people go against him, even before what we are just uncovering now. And then the 23andMe executives all dropped out. And then
that's scary. Who bought them?
Yeah, like,
we know he has money, so
I'm glad I never did the ancestry test, because they don't have it.
If I did do it, then it was on ancestry.com, but that's still weird. Like, and now the missile crisis that just happened, there's definitely something bigger afoot that people are not waking up to. And I believe that we're in a war right now.
And it's more than one thing, too.
Oh, we are. Oh, we were as soon as Biden took office, dude. Soon as Biden took office, we were in Ukraine immediately.
Yep. Immediately, we're there. Either. We didn't need to be over there.
And here's the thing that kills me the most about it, people are like, we're not in a war with Russia. Yeah, we are. We're sending missiles and firepower to the country that they're firing against. What do you think that is?
Exactly.
We're supplying the Ukrainians with their firepower to shoot at Russia.
Yeah.
We're in a war.
Even sent troops there. We even sent our own troops there to help.
If Trump was president right now, and the same thing was happening right now, which it wouldn't, but if the same thing was happening, they'd say, what would they say? Trump caused this.
Yeah.
This is his fault. It'd be all over the news. They'd be like, he got us into this war, blah, 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 blah. But if it's Biden, let's not talk about it at all. Let's not bring it up.
They always put the blame on one person, and then whenever a new person comes in and does even worse, it gets overshadowed because of the previous person.
What kills me is everybody's like, oh, he's gonna destroy our country. You know, he was the first president in like 20 years to not be like literally engaged in war. Yes, there was people in Afghanistan, but he had a lot of different things in line to withdraw out of there. He had a plan. Biden just pulled everybody out. Just everybody get out of there. Go, bye. Good luck.
Yep.
That's not what the plan was to begin with. But then if it goes bad, they had a fall guy. So that's why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it all makes sense. Like, there's a fall guy, we could blame it on him. But all these things happened at certain times that and then nobody talks about it. I don't get why it isn't number one news of we're supplying Ukraine with weapons, tanks, artillery, you name it, everything.
Mhm.
Billions of our taxpayers' dollars are going over there
Yes.
to fight in a war that most of us are like, I mean, don't be wrong, like Ukraine. The only reason why Vladimir Putin even went into Ukraine was because he knew he could and get away with it.
Exactly. He was trying to take over that the Ukraine at one point, I think. I think that's what his original plans were.
Russia claims that Ukraine is still part of Russia, that's their territory. Originally, from whenever the lines were whatever from before, that was the excuse. That's the excuse behind all this. When the USSR dissolved and all these countries and micro countries started popping up everywhere, like Russia was losing ground like big time because they had all those places in Russia. So that this was basically that. It was a power move. It was okay. Biden, you're supposedly so gung-ho and you're such a good president. What if I do this? I'll tip my tiptoe over the border. Oh, nothing? Okay, then I'm going to go. If that would have happened and Trump would have been in office and the way he does business, as soon as he put that tiptoe out, well, for one, he would have never tiptoed. Because Trump was keeping the peace over there. He was like, all right, let's not have wars.
He was almost like friends with Putin at one point.
He visited there. He visited North Korea for the first time ever, like in forever. Yeah. Like he was trying to actually cause peace. Like that's what you see as peace. You want to talk about not peace? As soon as you get in office, you cause mass chaos in the United. You basically crippled the Middle East by pulling us all out of there. Showed that like we're gone, we can do whatever we want, which was dumb. And then, you know, Ukraine happens and you just give them a whole bunch of money and weapons and stuff and then act like you're not doing anything. Like it's like kicking them over and then like we didn't do anything. Yeah. But we all see it. It's money.
What they're basically doing is kicking us as hard as they can in the nuts. That's basically what they're doing. It's kicking every single one of us as hard as they can in the nuts. Just for their
just to see if they can get away with it. They're going to keep doing it, and they do these things to test what are they going to do? Are they going to rise up and take us? Even though it would be really easy to do, we far out like the population of our we far outnumber any military.
Oh yeah.
We could easily, if the people rose up in a city, you can see what happens when riots stuff happen. There's not enough emergency personnel to take care of that. So what happens if a whole state does it?
Exactly. And like that also brings up a point like too, like our ports have just closed pretty much.
I saw that.
There was 45,000 workers all across the US that went on strike. So our production of pretty much everything is going to go down.
Well, yeah, and our goods and stuff are going to get shorted.
Exactly. But like we went through this 4 years ago. The same exact thing. And look where we are now. We eventually got out of it. And then
we always do.
Biden comes back into office and look what's happening again.
He doesn't even know where he is. He's not whoever's pulling the strings now. That's who I want to know. I want to know who's running the government now. Who?
Isn't he like 81?
Yeah.
He doesn't even know.
There's no reason why they should have allowed him to be president at that age.
He should be in a nursing home.
Exactly. He should have ran in the first place.
I don't get that either. 81. I mean, he became president at what? 78, 77.
Something like
All
that.
I know is somebody shouldn't be in office if they have to trade out their, nice shoes for a pair of the Skip skid-proof Velcros. If our president's wearing skid-proof Velcros because he can't fucking stay upright, that should be a fucking sign that this guy probably shouldn't be running our government.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty. The whole world sees it. Like they're all laughing. They're all going like, "What's going to go on over there come November 4th? We're waiting for it. All the good stuff's coming. Let's see what happens." That's what they're all doing. They're all like watching us as a reality show. It's a joke.
For sure. It very much is a
yeah.
joke. So while we're on the topic of governments, you want to go into details about what you have to talk about?
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go back to December 26, 1980. And in the mysterious woods of Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England. I probably murdered that. But it was that forest is right between two NATO Air Force bases, Bentwaters and Woodbridge.
Okay.
Both were operated by the United States government. They were both, this was during like Cold War 1980. This is still Cold War stuff. So it was very strategic place, and they actually had nuclear weapons here. It wasn't known to people then. It is now because they're no longer in operation. But back then they were. There was nukes, and that was us over in England with nukes closer to Russia, right? So at 2 a.m., an airman first class John Burroughs is on a routine security patrol when he notices a strange pulsating lights descending into the forest. Concerned about it being a possible downed aircraft, a serious matter. I mean, if you think you saw a plane go down, that's kind of pretty intense. So he alerted his staff sergeant, Jim Pennison, together with Ed, I'm going to murder this name, Ed Kabsanag. I don't know. Ed, he was with Ed. They received permission to investigate what they believe was an emergency situation, which makes sense, right? As they start to get deeper into the forest, their radios begin to malfunction. Like, this is kind of one of the reasons why I picked this, because it's like almost reminds you of like when you're in a paranormal investigation and sometimes radios malfunction, they do weird things. So sometimes it was filled with static, and sometimes they completely lost all signal to be able to call back. And they said that the atmosphere felt heavy. I think we can all relate to that. You get in a spot where it just feels heavy, right? And the nearby farm animals become restless. You can hear them all, like he said that he could hear them all getting spooked. And they said that they encountered something beyond their like imagination. It was a luminous triangular craft hovering silently above the forest floor. He described it as about 9 feet wide at the base and 6 feet high, with smooth black glass-like surface that seemed to emit its own light. Strange symbols resembling hieroglyphics, yet they weren't hieroglyphics. They look like it, but they weren't. They approached the craft, and curiosity, he reached out and touched it. He actually touched it. He said it felt warm, and he ran his fingers over the symbols, and he actually, this is what I thought was really weird, is supposedly he had a flash of binary code, 1s and 0s. Like when he touched the craft, he said that like it imprinted. He later wrote those down, and later they actually did the code, and I'll tell you about that in a second. I'll let that build up for a second. But yeah, I'll get to that. Over the next 2 nights, the unexplained phenomena continued. On December 28th, Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt decides to lead an investigation himself armed with a team equipped with radiation detectors, night vision devices, and audio recorders. And they went into the forest. They discovered 3 indentations in the ground forming a perfect equilateral triangle and record the radiation levels significantly higher than the normal background radiation. Suddenly, they observed strange lights moving through the trees and beams of lights descending from the sky. Halt's radio recordings capture the tension and the urgency of the moment, providing real-time documentation of their experiences. There's actual tapes of them being in the woods and the light coming above them, and you can hear them all freaking out and stuff. And he actually wrote a memo, and I'm going to try to bring that up. Give me a second, but he wrote a memo, and this is a high ranking official. Like, to write something like this would be crazy, really. Basically, and that's as far as it went. It never went to like news agencies or anything. It was just in the chain of command. The chain of command knew about it. Basically, it was need to know. So if you need to know, they let you know about it. That was it. But
Gotcha.
yeah. So enter Nick Pope. That's the guy I was talking about earlier, right? Like the guy that was Ministry of Defense and everything. He has he's been like one of the main guys because he was in office. No, I take that back. He was the Ministry of Defense from 1985 to 2006.
Okay.
But if you think about it, like, this is only 5 years after the incident occurred. So obviously, in my mind, if you're Ministry of Defense, he probably knows the real what happened.
Yeah.
So he doesn't give away a whole bunch of stuff, but he worked with them from 1991 to 1994, involved investigating UFO sightings to determine any potential threat to national security. That was his job. So of course he knew about this. So he didn't flag it off as saying, think about this. If you knew that it wasn't real, you wouldn't go out there and tell everybody that it was real. Being with that background, it completely kills your reputation. So you'd have to stand on these claims pretty firmly to set out there and just say it and be an ex-Ministry of Defense, whatever. Like you would ruin your reputation and your career if you spoke out and said that happened. So, yeah. Let me see. I have a spot where he's talking about the binary code of what it said, because I said that earlier.
Yeah, I would be curious.
Oh, I found it. The phrases he said let me go to it. Okay, the binary code he transcribed remained a secret for years due to the fear of ridicule and potential repercussions. It wasn't until 2010 that he revealed the 16 pages of binary code during an episode of Ancient Aliens. When decoded by experts, the binary sequence allegedly translates into coordinates pointing to ancient sites around the world, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Nazca Lines in Peru, and a location associated with the mythical island of High Brazil off the coast of Ireland. It also contained enigmatic phrases like exploration of humanity and continuous for planetary advance.
And this dude didn't know any binary code at the time, right? He just wrote down.
Supposedly, no. He said that when he touched the craft, that it was like downloaded, like he remembered it all.
That's
like
crazy.
It was put right into his brain.
Pages, though.
That is, yeah.
16 different pages.
16, you may think about it's not a lot, but for a whole thing of pages,
and for him
of just ones and zeros
of the pyramids, like, that's wild.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I can sit there and read 16 pages.
No, I would not be able to read all of it.
It's just nuts, man. And there's like a statue now to this day.
Really?
There's a statue there, and it's like called UFO Trail. Like there's a trail that goes into the woods, supposedly where it happened and everything. Like that's like not bucket list, but if I was in England, like, and I was doing like a UFO tour or like paranormal tour, like, dude, if I was anywhere close out there, I'd stop by.
Hell yeah.
I would 100% go there just to see what the site looks like now.
Well,
'Cause
and
I'm
that's
sure
the one
they
thing.
have it marked off, like in
The one thing
everything.
that I found weird about it all is high-ranking officials, the colonel literally saw this stuff, right? So you got a colonel of an Air Force base that led his own investigation, and he was thinking in advance. Like, this dude brought video cameras, night vision, recorded it, brought radiation detectors, everything. Like, he was prepared. And it sounds like someone going on a paranormal investigation, like all the stuff that they're taking with them. And that's what I found weird about it.
It really does.
Yeah. And that's where I'm saying, like, think about this for a second. If it is related to aliens or whatever, maybe that's what we're dealing with at these places. I mean, if they're intelligent beings that could just knew a little bit about history, they could pretend to be something they're not.
I mean,
Okay.
that happens.
How would we prove any different? Right?
I mean, it's like
So-
paranormal guys, but that happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
So if aliens are out there and it's causing radiation spikes like what we get on RF, and and supposedly the guy got sick. A couple of the guys got sick too, by the way, that were around in that area, supposedly possible weird radiation poisoning or something, which also reminded me of like Skinwalker Ranch, where they say they have like the weird things happen to people, like radiation poisoning and weird spots out there. And it's like, maybe it's like all these places where aliens have either been or still are. We just can't see them. What if it's like,
Yeah, because we don't know the kind of technology
Yeah.
that they have. They could have cloaks for all we know.
Yeah,
what
Or
if they
they
live in the
could
next
be, like,
dimension?
ancient beings, like
I would go out to the Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, it would be.
Oh, that would
probably
be
wouldn't-
awesome.
But
It
dude, that
would
would
be
be
awesome.
fucking epic.
it would be
I'd
awesome.
love to.
But that's why
It's
the thing
in
about
Utah. Utah is like
Yes.
20 hours away.
Dude, that's
Probably
forever
not.
away. I
I
mean,
think it's like, might be a day.
It
Might be a day. Yeah.
dude, that would be awesome. Because there's so much Native American background that's out there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so much history. I mean, not that there's not history out east. I mean, obviously East was here before West, but like there's a lot of crazy stuff, like crazy stories about out West, like during the gold rush and stuff. We could go, I mean, I could
yeah.
probably do a story
There's,
a week easily.
And just on the amount of people during the gold rush too, like you could really do a deep dive on just about anyone during that time.
Right? Like, it's crazy.
It's not just like
Like-
normal people. It wasn't just like normal people. It was like politicians who getting in on it.
Oh yeah, they're like, okay, if we get over to this land and mark this as this, then it's ours, and we take it. And now I'm a politician. I run this country. I run this part of the world because I was
Yep.
here, and I say so. And it's my land. If you want to live on it, you do what I say. And
Oh yeah.
that's why the government was right at the head of it all. I mean, that's why they built a railroad track across country, was because
Mhm.
that's power. Back then, the railroad was power. That's how you got stuff places. It wasn't airplanes, it was trains. So, like,
Mhm.
it was crazy just the amount of unknown history that's out there, just in the fact of what they still find stuff like in caves. They find stuff like
Yeah.
all over the place, out in Arizona, Utah, Nevada. There's so many mines and stuff from that time that, like, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Like, I would
yeah.
love to go investigate it. That'd be fun.
Hell yeah.
Go
Oh, yeah.
investigate a mine.
Could be every day.
Yeah.
Could be fucking active and
Even our deserts, like you don't know what could be underneath all that
yeah.
sand.
I'd love to though, man. That would be fucking awesome.
Like, yeah, I know
However-
sand is natural and everything, but like you gotta think also like over time that sand is gonna end up shifting and just covering whatever is on the surface up. Like you don't know what's underneath.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
here's a fun little fact. The incident had such profound and lasting effects on those involved. Both Jim Pennington and John Burroughs have reportedly ongoing health issues that they attribute to the close encounter with the craft. In 2015, after years of battling for access to his own medical records, which were inexplicitly classified,
that's not weird.
John Burroughs received a settlement from the U.S. Veterans Administration for his injuries suffered in the line of duty. His development implicitly acknowledged that something significant and unexplained occurred during the incident. So he won a lawsuit against the U.S. government for injuries sustained from touching the craft that supposedly he didn't touch. That's weird. And they classified his medical records. If there's nothing, if he didn't, nope, he didn't do anything weird. But then again, here's another thing. This is just a skeptic in me. He was on a nuclear Air Force base. What if he did stuff that was classified that had to deal with dealing or working around a reactor or the missiles themselves? What if he got poisoned that way?
Yeah, that is a good point.
That's the skeptic in me. But why wouldn't they just say that?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Why do it keep that a secret? Like, why would anyone care if he was around missiles?
They keep a lot of secret though.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the weird part. Why did he have to go to court to get access to his own damn medical records?
Yeah, that's whenever you said that, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
That tells you something's weird. That right there threw a big red flag for me. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Someone's medical records from them? Like, that's weird.
Obviously, it had some shady shit on it.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, there was something on there that they didn't want anybody to know because it was classified. He couldn't even look at his own damn medical records. How the hell?
Man.
Leave it to the U.S. government, right? Oh, there's something wrong with you. What's wrong with me? Can't tell you. So you know. Yep, classified. F off. Basically,
Yeah, like how would
go die.
you do it in that situation? Because like, if you're trying to look for answers on why you're feeling a certain way, and you go to the main source trying to find these answers, and they tell you, "Nah, we're not going to tell you." How would that make you feel?
Yeah, it's rough.
I would be, dude, that messed me up. Like, that's basically saying go die.
Yeah, like, hey, we know what's wrong with you, but we don't have any use for you anymore, so bye-bye. That's
we don't. Yeah,
they said
that's very fucked up. Yeah,
it is. It's so screwed up, dude. Like, I couldn't imagine being in the military, going to your doctor, knowing that you feel like crap. You know, you touch this craft and you're going, what the hell's wrong with me, dude? What's going on? And you go and you're like, what's going on? And they're like, sorry, we can't tell you. Do you know what's wrong? Yeah, but no, we can't tell you.
And like,
bye.
You're nothing. Too, like, you don't even know what he was even taking at the time. Like, what kind of tests they were even doing, because everything is classified.
Yeah, I mean, it baffles me that even, and you gotta think about it. You're already, like, all your medical records are already sealed, right? Like, you have to give certain permissions for people to be able to see them. Already is long. I mean, this is 2015 that he was battling this shit. So there was already medical rules in place that it's not like anybody could just read his medical records, and they still wouldn't give it to him, even with all the protection, like just not letting. They didn't want another doctor to see what was going on. That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
And that's so messed up that they rather allow someone to suffer and die than they would just giving the man his medical records. Like, that happened in 1980. No one's even talking about it no more. Like, in 2015, who cared? No, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, just give it to him. He had to go to court and fight for him. That's messed up, man.
Yeah, that's very messed up. Especially after that long of a time has passed too. Like,
Yeah. Like what, 2015? It's 25 years.
Yeah. That's
I don't
know about
up.
you, but that would mess me up mentally, like on the inside, because like
I hope he got a good settlement.
Like, you're dying, and then you don't even know what's wrong with you. Like,
John, if you're out there, I don't know if he's still alive or not, but if you are, I just want you to let you know, I hope you got a good settlement, because you deserve it, bro.
A very huge settlement.
Yeah, you deserve more money than they could probably give you for dealing with that crap.
Oh yeah,
I'd probably give you anxiety, honestly.
Yeah,
right. It almost gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah, like
I couldn't imagine
even knowing what's happening to your body, let alone like what it could do to people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and supposedly there was another incident that happened out on the base too, where the guys said that they saw these like red lights shining in like to the base, like these big bright red lights, and it felt like it was scanning something. They said it looked like it was scanning something, which they thought was weird. Like, so basically like a UFO was scanning the Air Force Base to see if it had nukes. Because if you think about it, there's always been a correlation with UFOs and Air Force bases. The bases that have nukes, there was always UFOs seen around those places because they were watching. They were watching very closely, and I still believe they are. And they're watching just to wait. I don't know if they're going to save us or not, but I have a feeling if someone ever did flip that button, that I have a feeling that it ain't going to hit the ground. I just have this weird feeling. But if it does, then they're like, okay, we'll let them destroy themselves. But if not, they could stop it. They've already proven that they can shut down missiles at like the one place in 1976. I think I brought up a while back, but the guy was watching, and this was before computers. They were all like, manual, and they managed to shut them down without having any computers to hack or nothing. They could still shut them down. So they have the capability. They've proven that. So it just makes me wonder if are they gonna save us when that time comes, or are they just gonna be like, well, we tried telling them.
Yeah.
We tried telling them, like, we gave them warnings, like, don't do it. Like, but us as humans, we've proven time and time again, we don't learn from history about anything. We just allow history to keep repeating itself.
Oh yeah, and I will always keep on saying that history will always repeat itself
if nothing's done about it.
Doesn't matter when it's a matter of when, but it's going to repeat itself. Like it's going to rear its head, and I think we're seeing that even in present day. Like
I can't believe that.
I believe it. I believe we're at the very start point of either a civil war in the United States of America breaking out. I can see that after the election. I don't know how that's going to swing, but I think if it does, if people thought J6 was bad, I just have a feeling that if that happens again, and I don't know, I'm scared because I have a baby that's about to be born, and it terrifies me about this election. Like, it terrifies me because I have a feeling that whatever this election is going to decide a lot of things, and I don't think there's a win in it for any side. And I don't think they realize that. I don't think there's a win either way we go. I don't think if Trump's president, he's going to fix anything. I think that'll just cause more chaos. And I think that if Trump isn't elected, then you're going to see chaos regardless. I just think that they've built people up against each other so much that the dam's going to break, and we're going to see us innocent people who are just like, hey, everybody stop fighting. Stop it. Get along, guys. Like,
We're
go
trying to
smoke a
be
J together. Get over it. Like,
Yeah,
stop.
Doing Dusty Rhodes' voice.
Right? Can't we all just get along? Like, come on, man.
Like, there's
real.
too much hate in this world, and like, I don't understand why.
We need more love. There needs to be more
We-
love in the world.
We are all, at the end of the day, human beings. Why are we fighting
But at the
over
same time-
something that doesn't really matter?
At the same time, it's like people. It's just people in general. They make me hate. They make me hate them. Like,
Yes.
it's just people, stupid people.
And like, even in certain groups, both religiously and in politics, there are multiple groups that I just dislike, because either A, they push it onto us,
I got
or
that.
B, whenever you voice your opinion, they will automatically assume the worst about you and try to say stuff in your name that isn't true.
I've showed him. I've gotten the past 2 days.
Mhm.
I've gotten some shit from some Christians.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's not even
Like forcing
only
it
Christian.
upon you. Like forcing it upon you.
It's not even just Christians.
Well, not just
though.
that, but it's
But
just the
like,
fact of
it's everything.
it's irritating. It's
Yes.
so
If-
fucking
If
irritating.
you don't believe what they believe, then you're their enemy. Instead of everybody just they talk, and it didn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, it didn't matter what you were. You could sit down and have a conversation and agree to disagree, but get your side out without hate and spewing names being called.
Exactly.
Everything. Like, you used to be able to talk. And now-
everyone has a right to an opinion, but now it seems like you don't anymore.
No,
There's just too many people that get upset that people will just stay quiet because they don't want to hear the repercussions of being truthful, and it makes people scared. Like,
the truth shall set you free.
I know
you
it
know,
sounds very religious of me, and I promise I'm not trying to be that way, but like, it is very true. Like, just because you have one opinion over the other, another group of people are gonna go against you no matter what.
it's very simple. Everybody needs to realize that you're not better than them.
Exactly.
You're not above anybody else. Okay? People need to understand that they need to live their lives and worry about themselves, and they need to worry about taking care of their family and not worrying about how somebody else takes care of their family.
Exactly.
But out.
It's like
Unless
if you
a kid's
in
being
jail,
abused, unless there's
why?
abuse happening, yeah.
Exactly. If you
Don't
can
worry
shit
about what
and
somebody
piss
else does.
yourself, then why are you worrying about how another person is running?
Instead of getting
Yeah.
offended, instead of
Exactly.
getting your hurt.
Like, I get it. If someone directly attacks you, you have every right to fire back. And
That's perfectly fine.
I don't believe in turn your cheek, whatever it is. I believe that if you swing at me, I'm gonna swing at your back. But if you swing on, but I won't do it unprovoked. Like, I'm pretty chill. But if you come at me,
Exactly.
you're asking for it.
Exactly. You're just pretty much getting asked to punch me in the mouth, like, by you starting stuff. Like,
Yeah, like, if I'm not calling anybody out, I'm just saying how I feel, and I'm not dissing on anybody. Nobody has they do have the right to say whatever they want. You have the right to say whatever the hell you want. But there's a big but here. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
exactly.
Didn't your mama ever tell you that?
We learned this in kindergarten, for crying out loud, for most of us. We were
It's
taught
weird how
that at a
nice.
young age.
it's so awesome when you see little kids and they're hanging out together, right? It's so cool to see them non-manipulated, to see them
Exactly.
just act like it doesn't matter what color your skin is, doesn't matter whatever. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about the politics of it. They don't care about anything. They're
I wish I could go
themselves,
back to those days. I'm not gonna lie.
right?
I
And see,
really do wish that.
and I'm just scared that my kid ain't gonna grow up with the opportunity to. He ain't gonna grow up in a childhood like I had. That's something I just have to understand. And I can try to give him some, like I want him to be a person that likes the woods. I want someone to be an outdoorsy type. I want him to mind boggle at the world and the stars and think, what if? I guess I just don't want them to be brought up in a society that tells them what's correct to believe ever. I want him to make that choice. I don't want someone to make it for him. And I sure as hell ain't gonna let some other people tell him what, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know how to explain it. It's just like you said earlier, Daniel, you brought up a good point. We're not as free as what we think we are. We really aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, we're free to do this podcast, and I'm grateful.
We're
That
free to
I
do
have
this.
yeah.
Like we're like
Yeah.
not every country is gonna have this opportunity, like given
Like,
to the
so-
public.
I'm sure they'd take it away from us. I'm sure they would.
I mean, if we were in China right now and we were Chinese nationals and we were saying the stuff we were saying about the government, we probably would have been clipped about probably 5 minutes in.
Oh, most likely. But like they're like they would research this whole video and be like, yeah, find these guys, take them in. Where are they at?
Right? They
But,
said
like,
something against
yeah,
us, right?
Yeah,
Can't
they
have that,
don't like us. We can't have them here anymore.
right?
We're
And
silenced.
it just kills me because it's like in this day and age, it seems like we're growing up in a, and there's a lot of great things on the horizon, but that's as long as
There
there
is a
still
lot of
is a horizon. That's the problem. I do recommend everyone, and I'm not posting a brand or anything, but I do recommend if you go on Amazon, you can get these electric generators for like some of them run about $63. They're like a big battery pack, like these
Oh yeah.
like this, except they're like you can hook a solar panel and stuff up to it, which actually you can hook a solar panel up to this, but I recommend everyone investing in, even if it's only like $100, get it because it comes with like AC plug, like you can plug stuff into it. Maybe it might not be long, but let's say like the reason why I'm so gung-ho about it is we're going to try to, no, I'm not breastfeeding, but we plan on doing that. So like, what if the power goes out? What if, she needs to pump and the pump ain't working? We don't have anything, like, you know what I mean? Like, need to have power come in some way. And at least, as long as the sun still rises, you can collect energy. That's a cool thing because you can get it. But that's what I've been looking into sooner than later.
Hell yeah.
At least you're prepared and it's not even that expensive.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. It's best to be prepared whenever the unknown is upon us. And very much so in our present day, we are very much in the unknown.
Oh yeah. As
Well,
I
you
like
know-
to say, Plain minds, we are searching the unknown because it's what you do.
Exactly.
Right.
Everything
And you know what?
is the unknown if you think about it.
I like challenging the skeptics
Yeah.
of
Well, here-
everything.
Well, here's something weird. You know how the California is, I think it's by 2035, they're supposed to be all electric cars. You're not allowed to have,
I saw that.
okay.
Yeah,
So
you're
think
not
about
allowed
this.
to have a combustion engine in your car.
Okay. But think about this for a second. Our power grid is horrible.
Hmm.
They've already shown that it's, for one, like it can't, for right now, they don't have the electricity to power all those cars. So how can they demand everybody to change over to electric when they don't even have a plan in place of how they're going to change the power grid, which is a multi-billion-dollar operation, by the way. If you have to restructure your whole entire electrical grid, that goes for the whole entire United States. And what power? I mean, like, it just doesn't make sense. If you're powering the cars on coal, generated electricity from coal, how are we changing anything?
Exactly. And that's what I always said about electric vehicles too. Like, yeah, it's a good concept on paper, but whenever you deep dive into, like how you mentioned, the charging, like not a whole lot of people understand how are we going to get that energy to these cars?
Not
We
just
can't
that,
just power them
the
just off of
source.
anything.
You have to
Like,
look at the source too. The cobalt
oh,
for the
yeah.
batteries, to make those batteries, they're mining
Oh yeah.
those natural resources out of the ground. So basically all you're doing is switching from one natural resource to another. You're not there has to be a better way, and I do believe there are better ways. The government has better ways, but they are so dependent on money and greed. And if all that money went away, what if they did have technology to, like anti-gravity technology? It would completely change everything.
Oh yeah.
You could power cars with it and it would last forever. You wouldn't have to burn anything, you wouldn't have to mine anything, and it would still, you could power cities this way without having any green content. But then the oil companies don't get money. The electricity companies don't get money. All these places lose money. So it's not, they look at it as not feasible.
And see, that's exactly why I said the United States is one giant monopoly at the end of the day. Because no matter if we try to fix one problem, there's always going to be another problem feeding to other companies. Whenever the solution is right there in our face, but
Oh, yeah.
they don't want to do that because they know that they will make more money in the end by doing longer steps.
They take the power away from themselves. If
Yeah.
you were to give free energy to everyone on this planet, the planet would be, we would worry about something else. Imagine if we didn't have to worry about any of that.
Imagine not worrying about having water for most of the world. Like,
just think about what that would mean.
We would have so much other stuff to worry about. Just given something to us for free that should already be free.
Exactly.
In a sense.
You shouldn't have to pay tax on the tires that you bought and paid for, tax on that, and then tax on the car, and then tax to touch your tires to the road, tire tax for touch, and then you paid for the roads, but they tax you to pay for the roads. Then they charge you money to put your tires on the roads that you paid for, and then charge you tax for the car too.
For sure. And not even that, like, just
it just doesn't make sense.
If you're gonna tax us, lower it. Please lower it.
They don't want that.
Well, half of the stuff is just like, why? Like, I get why, but I also am questioning it at the same time.
Well, this is where I think the states and the United States of America need to take a stand, because this is a republic. I think people forget about that. Like, each state is governed on its own, right? And the federal government became a thing because they wanted to control the states, right? So if the states go, beep, no, we're not going to give you a damn thing. What?
Yeah.
Then what? Then what? Like, literally, what are they going to do about it?
Yeah, practically Nothing.
And that's why I have a feeling that that might be what it comes down to. I have a feeling that that's why I said civil war. There's going to be states that are just going to say, nope, we're done with this. This is too crazy. You've gone too far. You can't do this. Like, we're done. There's too much corruption.
We've already started to kind of see it in Texas earlier this year too. Like,
Yeah. With all the governors signing off, all the Republican governors saying they had their back. Yeah.
And not only that, but even our own enemy was saying that they would aid Texas in becoming a free country on its own. They're
big enough
in a state, like on Twitter. It was some like politician that runs in Russia. Like, he's some really higher up. And that's what he was saying, is that he would help the Republic of Texas become its own free entity if Texas wanted to. And I find that baffling to me, that our own enemy is saying that.
Did you notice how quiet it got, though? Do you notice how quiet it got after they went to the Supreme, when literally the federal government took Texas to the Supreme Court about the razor wire, and the Supreme Court actually voted that they had the right to do that?
Yep.
Yeah. And then it was, I haven't heard anything else about that. Did they put the razor wire back up?
Did they take it down?
I don't know. Is it still up? Did they put it back up after the Supreme Court said that they're justified doing it? Like, I just don't understand it. How, if this isn't telling you that whoever's in power is an enemy to its own citizens, is whenever there's a wall built, just like a lot of other countries have, that the U.S. ain't the first person to build a wall. Like, because they have problems with drugs coming over the border, right? So I mean, we need to do something.
Like, that brings up a good point, because take a look at China. Like, that wall was built to keep out the Mongolians from invading their land.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
about it back in that time period too. Like,
yeah, and even in present day, there's countries that have walls up all over the place. It's just the point is our government, they got into power and they saw that we were securing our border, which is in our best interest. Why would you turn around and kick the walls down and say, come on in? Is that the best interest you have for the American people? Is it just let whoever the hell wants to come over here? Since when was that a good idea?
Especially undocumented people. Like, yeah, you can count the amount of people, but you don't know their names. You don't know anything about them.
Over 2 million gotaways. That means they were running from the cops. When instead of just being like, okay, yeah, because you're allowing me in the country, I'll stand in line and get processed. They didn't want to do that because they'd probably be on a watch list. Those all people still got over the border and are somewhere. Well, who knows where they are? 2 million of them. Nope, that isn't bad or anything. That's good. That's good for our country.
Yeah, and who knows how many of them are like the worst of the worst that have came in. Like, they just got done finishing off their own family, and I know that sounds wrong, but
but, I mean,
but you guys get what I mean though. Like if a guy just got done ending his whole family, he can start a new life over here. Nobody would bat an eye if he.
They wouldn't know. They said that a lot of these guys were coming in no ID, nothing. So they have no idea who these people are, and just going off of what they're telling them. My name's John Larry the Fifth. Like, they have to just take that and go, okay, that's your name. All right, come on in.
My name is Michael Hernandez, and I came from such and such. Like, you don't know if that's.
It's just their word. So they were ditching, and they were finding these things along the trail. They were finding IDs ditched, stuff ditched, and then found some of these things and realized that there's people that are criminals. And they're like, oh, well, their name didn't come through the list, but their ID's laying out in the middle of the desert. That means he's in here. So just one is bad. 2 million is just insane.
Even worse.
Yeah. Crazy,
Like,
crazy.
and who knows where they're at now? Because they could be on any part of the world for all we know.
Yeah, and he's getting free, healthcare, food, board, everything for free.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. Free food, free all that. Why? We're in one of our biggest, everybody else is paying out the ass and groceries and paying so much just to survive at the grocery stores. Like, I would love it if I could get a kiss while I'm at Target, because they're bending me over and I at least like a kiss, because
Take me out to
seriously,
dinner
bro.
first. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sweeten the pot. Like, cause you're not doing any favors for me.
Have a little sprinkle of
Yeah.
something in there if you're just gonna keep on doing
Right?
it.
Like, at least pay me. Damn.
Yeah.
Like, I should, Jesus. I can't even believe, like, you go to Walmart and it's like $128. What did I get? Oh, 3 bags. Okay, cool.
Oh,
Yep. I
nice.
feel like my money went to what it should have. Yep. There's no price gouging going on at all. No, not at all. Nope. Come on, man.
I think that should be a good point to stop on.
Yeah,
for
I'd
today.
say we'll let people stew on that. Think about that for a second.
Yeah. Just think about all the corruption that we have encountered.
Well, I don't want
over-
you to watch the podcast and end it thinking, oh, this is all bad. We could change it. Everything could change.
Things
We're
are-
not all bad.
it's
No,
gotta be
we're
The
not.
world is bad. But
Well, I
not
know
all-
you listeners right now are pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Thank you.
Join us. We appreciate that. And also,
Yes.
just because I'm going to plug our stuff, hey, if you haven't, go over to our page, which this is streaming from, and like it. Go over to Dark Side Paranormal on YouTube. Like, subscribe, because I stream it off of my YouTube channel over there every week. So if you want to tune in that way, you can. If you like YouTube better, I'm also streaming like a couple different other places, a couple other channels. But yeah, go like it, share it. If you have any ideas of like any episodes or any type of cool stuff,
It's not hard
Dude.
to show us love. It's not hard.
I love going down the rabbit hole. So if you got something that's like, hey, buckle up, Buttercup, we're gonna go on a ride.
Tell us
Send
to
it.
search up a certain case that you
Right?
find interesting that nobody is really talking about, and we'll cover it.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
too many.
that's why I brought up my case tonight. Like, I know not very many people have heard of that, but that's like
No,
crazy.
no.
That's like
And I
crazy
was
stuff.
very interested by that,
Yeah.
and like that's kind of a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, go if anybody wants to, you could go look up like on YouTube, or if you have like Ancient Aliens. Like, I don't know the exact channel. Maybe I'll put it in the description later, but like there's a whole episode I think that talks about this one thing.
Yes,
And they go into crazy detail about it, and it's like, whoa. But it's on Ancient Aliens, so I'm sure if you looked it up on YouTube you could find it.
Oh, I'm
but-
sure. Yeah.
All right. Hell
But-
yeah.
But if you enjoyed watching, like you said, please like this video, comment down below what you think,
Show
tell
some
us your
love,
thoughts.
Support.
share.
Yep.
We appreciate
Do
it.
the thing. Do the thing.
And
And-
our link will be down in the description too on YouTube and everything else. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you plug Haunted Minds, man? Like, plug
Yeah.
Haunted Minds. Go to
Yeah, Haunted
go.
Minds
Yeah.
Paranormal. We're on
Haunt-
Facebook.
we're on Facebook, YouTube,
Most likely going to be on Instagram at some point. Not sure about an X. I mean, maybe we may.
X or Twitter,
Never-
whatever. you
Never
wanna
say
call it.
never, but Facebook and YouTube is our main stuff that we go on.
Yes.
Haunted Minds Paranormal, as you can see by our name.
And we also have our own personal socials, so you can try to find us all around.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
hard to find.
No,
So-
no,
No, we're not. We're not hard to
No.
find.
not at all.
And if you go to our Facebook page, actually, I think majority for this podcast, there's links down in the description part where it says like YouTube channel, Twitter, X, whatever,
Yeah.
all that.
And
It's all
the
listed
Val-
there. So if you want to jump there, subscribe, show love, send it to
Yes.
your uncles,
Will
brothers, cousins,
greatly
whatever.
Greatly
But-
appreciate.
Yeah, comment if you like it. Let us know. Join
We
us next
appreciate
week.
you all.
Yes. Join
Yeah.
us next
Peace
week.
out,
for
everybody.
next episode.
Later.